So there's a sport out there that not a lot of people are really talking about or quite frankly betting on that is about to kick off their season, and there is a ton of opportunity that I will take you through this video on how to pinpoint that opportunity and what I did last season to make this my most profitable sport that I have bet on, and that sport is NASCAR. NASCAR Cup Series ramping up. The Daytona 500 is less than 2 weeks away. That is widely considered the most prestigious race in NASCAR. Including Daytona, there are 37 Cup Series races, so that race and then 36 following, that takes to the championship and the conclusion of that season. The first tip I want to give really in this video is to line shop if you're betting NASCAR. So I did this. Each book, this is one of those markets where you will find crazy, crazy differences on these guys. So just to show you an example here, I have the outrights. So just the guy that the books think could win the Daytona 500, that race, right? Ryan Blaney on DraftKings is plus 900 to win that race. If you go over to FanDuel, just for one example, he's plus 1100. You're getting an extra plus 200 of value just by looking across books, seeing who has the best offerings. Obviously, this will vary state by state depending on where you're at, but you would want to bet that on FanDuel over DraftKings because then you'd be getting more money on the payout, right? And a huge difference, one that I noticed, was Denny Hamlin, plus 1100 on DraftKings. If you go over to FanDuel, you could get Denny Hamlin for plus 1800. That's a difference of plus 700 of value just by having a few different books, just by taking the time, whether it be with an app that could do it for you, or just by logging on individually yourself and just looking at the differences for whoever you like in the sport. So what worked for me really well in 2025 and previous seasons was I would look at guys that I think underperformed historically at those tracks the last few years compared to their talent level and their equipment that they're really using, right? So to kind of simplify that for you, if I saw a guy that hypothetically crashed 2 straight times at Daytona previously, this is a high variance sport. They're not going to crash every single time. It'll happen though. Just things happen. Tires pop, right? They get unlucky with somebody in front of them. That could cause a really talented driver to just have a really bad finish, even if it's not their fault. So I would historically look back at previous Daytona 500s if I was to bet this, right? And I would try to find guys with a lot of talent that are usually great finishers throughout the NASCAR season that have value for a top 3, a top 5, possibly to win this thing, that might not have a great finish at Daytona yet, right? Now, there's another narrative for this specific race that I'll quickly touch on. William Byron there, plus 1,000 on DraftKings. He's going for the first ever three-peat, 3 in a row at the Daytona 500. Could this happen? Sure, it could. Is it the smartest play? I don't know. I mean, for me, I would rather take things that I just think are really, really due. In NASCAR, there's 3 manufacturers, right? They haven't posted these markets yet. There's Chevy, there's Toyota, and there's Ford. Toyota hasn't won a non-clash, a non-duel race at Daytona since 2020 with Denny Hamlin. So Daytona is like screaming due for Toyotas to win this thing. And there's a few really good guys on Toyota that I think could have a good finish. So I would line shop. I would try to find the best top 5s, top 10s, and outrights for those individuals. And I would take them. And maybe I am. But this isn't about picks, right? You will notice as you go through the season with NASCAR too, it's not always like this with plus 900 being the favorite to win a race. For the road races, a lot of the times you're probably going to have SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, like plus 100, maybe minus 110-ish through like plus 150, and then you'll have a bunch of guys kind of after that, right? Because he wins a lot of road races. That's what he's known for now since entering the NASCAR Cup scene. So you could take that into account as well. Maybe for those kind of races, you want to target more of a manufacturer prop, right? You might want to target more of a top 10 or a top 5 deal, because then you could get guys 2nd through 5th, and it kind of hedges just in case like SVG just runs away with it and wins those kind of races. But for those markets, that's really what I'm looking for. There's also head-to-heads in NASCAR, which I think are very interesting. So same principle that I was just talking about applies for that. You could take, hypothetically, a guy who just had 2 really bad finishes 2 weeks in a row, and now this third race, he's really due for a top 10, and then you have a guy he's facing in the head-to-head. He might be like plus 110 against this other guy, but this other guy's had a win already. He's had a top 4 also right after that. So they're due for something bad to happen to them. And vice versa, you have the guy who's really due for a great finish. So that makes for, in my opinion, a wise opportunity if you can spot something like that. Because in NASCAR, we really don't see guys win all the time. High level of variance. You got to keep this in mind. Like, even the most talented drivers in NASCAR, most seasons win 2 to 5 races. Somewhere in that ballpark, right? So you're going to want to think about that too. If you have a guy like, for example, Ryan Blaney, if he doesn't have a win through 20 races, might be time to start considering him, right? And then if you look at Ryan Blaney and you see, oh, Ford, he's a Ford, hasn't won in 4 weeks, might be time to start considering Ford as a manufacturer. Or you could take the outrights. Another Ford is Joey Logano. That's very popular. He's won Cup Series titles, right? That's when you'd want to start looking there. So for this race specifically, that's really where my mind's going, would be guys in a high variance drifting course like Daytona 500 that really haven't had a ton of top 10s recently, have maybe had some bad luck. And this is also typically prestigious names end up winning the Daytona 500. There are some outliers, of course, some long shot guys that sneak in and have in the last couple decades, but you get the really good odds on talented drivers when it's a drifting track like this, and I think it makes for some really good prices. Without getting into the picks, like, it's very rare you see Kyle Larson plus 1,200 to win a specific race, and he's the defending champion from last season, right? Kyle Larson, a lot of weeks when it's a short track, for example, him and Denny Hamlin will be plus 500 or less to win that. So this opportunity at Daytona really gives you the chance to see guys with longer odds that you wouldn't normally see. And that also leads to, if you just really want to bet Kyle Larson for a top 3, a good finish, plus 350, ain't bad. So that's what we'll do throughout the season, and it's worked really well. Let's say Chevy wins 3 straight races to start the NASCAR Cup season. Maybe it's time to start taking manufacturers Ford and Toyota after that, right? Because with the manufacturers, they'll usually be plus 100 to like plus 300, depending on the week, in that range from what I've noticed. So if you kind of know that like throughout the season they're all going to win a certain number of races, you might want to start taking that for sure. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I wish you the best of luck if you are betting Daytona. This is my first video on the channel, so feel free to like, comment who you're thinking for the race, subscribe to the channel if you want me to make more of these, because I have a lot of thoughts to share. Didn't want to do picks officially in this video, but if that's something people want to see, maybe I could do that. All right, take care.